if we're looking at a name of a label, politician, I am not. Most people think of politicians, they think of a man or woman that is telling you what you want to hear to get your vote. And I'm not that guy. It's crazy how things happen. I was watching a movie, Margaret Thatcher movie. I haven't decided if I'm gonna run or not. They say, Margaret, why are you running? And she said, because I wanna do something, not be someone. And it hit me. People get angry at the judges. Why aren't you putting them in jail? There's no beds.
No beds.
I know that's a county thing, but we gotta work with the county. We gotta work together. I'm not about locking up people, but there are some that need to be, and then assess them while they're in, not when they're getting out, and working with them while they're in.
What does city council exactly do in our city?
So normally,
welcome to Beyond the Label podcast. I'm thrilled to have Eddie B on the podcast today. I'm thrilled to share your story. You know, I was thinking sometimes, what's the difference mindset of somebody maybe that's born first generation to America or being a son, a child of an immigrant? Is the mentality different?
Oh, I think so. Like you said, I'm a son of an immigrant. My mother came from Poland after World War II.
Wow.
My uncles and cousins, everyone still live there, so I go back to visit them. And the one thing growing up, and I grew up in South Toledo, son of an immigrant, is work ethic and family was so important. And you think growing up that everybody is part of that, and that's what everybody is, just family and your religion part of your side and everything else, and to find out later in life that everybody didn't grow up like that. I was lucky to have two parents that loved us, took care of us. There's 8 kids. I've got 7 sisters and me. Wow. So that was a challenge in itself. But the good thing was I had my own bedroom. I didn't have to have hand-me-downs. And my dad was this blue-collar worker that worked hard and taught me work ethic. And same with my mother. That's what you did. You worked hard and you treated people good and you took care of your neighbors and you did whatever. And I think that we've lost some of that, unfortunately. And now I'm running for office. This morning waking up, I thought, you know, I love, and I watch some of your podcasts and what you're doing. And, you know, if we're looking at a name of a label, politician, I am not. And when you think, and most people think of politicians, they think of, it's somebody, a man or woman that is telling you what you want to hear to get your vote. And it really, and I'm not saying that's all politicians, but I'm not that guy. Yeah. And I'm the guy that cares about the neighbor, cares about, while campaigning over the last 6 months, I've knocked on a lot of doors and I've met a lot of people and great neighborhood leaders. And mental health is a real issue. Yeah. Homelessness. I've worked with directors and met them to hear. The one thing, whatever I do and I jump into it, opening up Fikasha's and the Blarney, I didn't know anything about an Irish pub. I'm Polish. Yeah. And even my mother said, why would you open up an Irish pub? Why wouldn't you open a Polish pub? And I go, because who goes into a town looking for a good Polish pub? No one, Mom. Smart. The one thing I didn't know, and I met a man, and he owned some Irish pubs in the past, and he said, you got to go to Ireland if you want to know about that. When I opened up Fikasha's, it was in New York, Delhi. So now I want to meet with people and really understand. I don't want to just, I'll tell you another thing is when I was deciding to run, I had so many calls from local people like Cardi Finkbeiner and Paul Hicks Hudson and some really good people that have run for city council before and been on city council. Is I was watching a movie, and it's crazy how things happen, and I'm watching Margaret Thatcher movie. And I haven't decided if I'm going to run or not. And all of a sudden they say, Margaret, why are you running? And she said, because I want to do something, not be someone. Wow. And it hit me. That was like God saying, Ed, you need to do something, not be someone. And then meeting with some of these shelter homes directors and them talking about mental health and it's a problem. And
Yeah.
I dealt with it with somebody, and it was tough. And we need to spend more money on them than some of this other stuff that we're spending money. The city's in a deficit, and we got to work with the neighborhoods. Growing up in South Toledo, it was sad going back to the neighborhood and seeing what has happened and talking to one guy. He's like, we have called the city so many times on that house, in and out drug dealers and everything else. And so there's so many things I want to do. And so that label, I don't want to be labeled like many of just, you're going to hear my voice during election year. No, it's not. You're going to hear me all the time. And so, yeah, that's pretty much who I am. And I think a lot of that comes back from where you asked that question about being a son of an immigrant that has instilled in me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think sometimes I look, my wife was born outside the U.S. and just seeing some of their work ethics and other stuff, and sometimes we're not, grateful for the opportunities we give, but, a lot of people in our community don't even have the opportunity at all, and I know you give a lot of opportunities to people working at your restaurants and stuff, and, what really motivates you? What social issues are you seeing that, you could just run your businesses, probably retire. And,
I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
I just turned 63 last week, and it's like, and that's the one thing that people have asked, like, why? And it might sound like that politician label we've talked about, but it's about caring for the city, about the people, every people, not just, there's some beautiful neighborhoods. But then there's some not so beautiful neighborhoods. And one lady at the beginning of knocking on doors, which is so crazy, she said, Ed, I can't let my granddaughter go out and play during the day. And some of my best memories when I think about growing up in Toledo was going to Burroughs Park and playing, meeting all my friends, playing football and baseball and doing all that kind of stuff and running the neighborhood and being safe. That needs to be a memory that every child has.
Yeah.
And I mean it. Honest to God, I mean that. And I don't know what I can do. I hope I can, do something like that. And that's the plan. That's my goal.
Yeah, I know it's sad. You see a lot of neighborhoods, especially in South Toledo, they took like the school system, they took the schools out completely and they're abandoned and stuff like that. It's always, how do you help people, and especially the children are left behind. So many times I hear problems of fathers not being in the home or parents or anything. And I was interviewing a guy a couple of weeks ago, and Dr. Smith, who's part of the project we're in, and I said, what's wrong with the kids? And he said, nothing. The parents changed. And that statement has stuck with me for a long time, because I think about what's the accountability we can do. Because a lot of times, the environment is actually a product of us. We're in suburban communities, but then we drive all the way back to South Toledo and then throw the litter out. But we know not to do it in those communities, and taking ownership. And I know we had the privilege of working on a little event, and one of the girls brought up, out of everything going on, she's like, I called the police and there's broken glass right here. And I
remember that girl.
I remember it all the time. And I'm thinking like, man, she was a true leader, like a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, to be worried about the damage. And
do you remember what they asked? So what do you do? She said, I go up and clean it.
Yeah.
And she's in a group home.
Yeah.
She goes, I go out and clean it.
Yeah.
Those are special people.
Yeah.
Those
kids inspire me. I mean,
Same here.
As soon as they got in my car that day, and I just heard them, they were talking about like social issues and stuff. And, I'm used to kids with extreme behavior. So it was like kind of refreshing. I'm in the van and, I was like, wow, these are intelligent youth. They had so many ideas. They wanted to be doctors, business owners, lawyers, and just had really rough life. I think one thing is the opportunity. Like even South Toledo, I got one time I was talking to some people and they're like, well, just tell the kids to do this. I'm like, there's only McDonald's and Taco Bell. Where do you want them to work? And the grown-ups are there, What's one way we could channel? I always think about how can we use small businesses, not big corporation stuff, to empower our youth, give them more opportunities.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. So that girl said, Mr. Beczynski, can I talk to you? And I'm like, I went over to her table, she was not here. And we went outside that room and she said, I'm in a group home. I'm going to be honest. I've gotten in trouble, but I need a second chance. I need a job. Would you be willing to hire me?
Yeah.
And I said, here's my phone number. Call me, and I'm going to get you an application, and I'm going to get you an interview. And we did all those things. She came in, and while sitting there, I wasn't there at the time. My manager was there, and he told me she was on her phone the whole time while he's trying to interview her.
Oh, no.
So what we also have to do is work with these high school kids on how to interview. It might sound simple to a lot of us, but like her, and he kept talking to her and she's texting the whole time.
Yep.
And he's like, I know you want to hire her, Ed, but I can't.
Yep.
And I get it. I mean, so what I need to do is reach out to her again and really talk to her about, here's what's going on. And we need to work with, what Judge Corey, that program that we're talking about, is great working with these high school kids. And she brought in 12 Scott kids. Yep. And I don't know, and I told her, and she agrees, that it wasn't a good mix. All those kids, if you remember, when they asked, who's going to college, all raised their hand. That isn't the normal.
Nope.
I'm going to be honest.
Yep.
I know even for me, I didn't want to go to college. I joined the Air Force.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got to work with the kids, and we need a good mix of those kids. Yep. Not just, the 12 or whatever that want to go to college. So, it's that, and just why I decided to run, if that was a question. We've been talking for a while, but
it's okay.
Yeah, is to work with those that, again, I came from a family that my dad and mom taught us that. Well, there's a lot that kids that don't have that, and how do we get mentors into the schools and working with them? Talking before we started the podcast, what you're doing and your group is doing is amazing.
Thank you.
It really touched my heart.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think, because a lot of times, I sit, sometimes my staff will say stuff like this, like, there needs to be more money, needs to be this. I say, okay, boom, we get $50 million today. What would you do? I said, see, sometimes it's more than just money, because even though you gave somebody opportunity, we forgot the other steps where you have to educate people. So, especially my experience working with a lot of adults in incarceration, that they show up in flip-flops and we're going to court. And I'm like, if your lawyer showed up, what would you do? Oh, I'll go to jail. Right. So you're representing yourself. Why are you in flip-flops? But, they're literally not taught some of these things or have the opportunities, So I think, having the approach to inspiring the youth, not talking down on them, punishing them stuff, but literally giving those opportunities, bridging the gap with small businesses to help them, do classes and mentoring and stuff. It's very complex, in Toledo, And I know another thing you're passionate about, there's it seems like, a lot of violence. Yep. Like when I work with the kids now compared to even, I would say probably about pre-COVID, like drugs are stronger, weapons are more accessible. Like, I'm just being honest, when I was 16, 17, some of the neighborhoods you're talking about, I could buy a gun faster than I could buy drugs or alcohol, And it wasn't like I was trying to do nothing. You just sell a gun or something like that. You're just a kid. But when I think about like how accessible they are, how strong they are, and then just the mindset of youth is, some kids are very, violent, and it's seen in our community. One gets attacked and the other one gets attacked, What do you think can help with the safety of our community?
We've got to get into the schools and even working with the parents on gun safety, for one, that educate them and educate the parents on, you need to lock up your gun.
Yep.
You can't just have it laying around, because those two boys, the one shot the other one by mistake. You shouldn't be playing around with a loaded weapon.
Yep.
So we've got to educate. Education is huge. And getting the police, where I believe, and I've got both unions endorse me, but to get them into the neighborhoods, not just driving through the neighborhoods, get them in there and walking around and let those, because a lot of times you ask, I heard this from somebody, I forget who said it to them, like, when you see a police, what do?
Yeah.
Run.
Yeah.
See, they're not trusting them. And majority of them, and I'll say 90-some%, I believe you can trust.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not all, there are some bad cops, bad everybody. But we need to get them walking the neighborhood, riding their bikes and engaging with them and at an early age. So they're not, when they hear, what do when you see a cop? Run.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't the way I was raised, and it was a little different, I know, back then. But we've got to educate. We got to get in there. We got to get, and the problem too is talking with Judge Corey not that long ago about the beds at Stryker. They only have half the amount of beds today that they did like 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And so when people get angry at the judges, why aren't you putting them in jail? There's no beds.
There's no beds.
And I know that's a county thing, but cities got to work with the county. We got to work together. And I'm not about locking up people, but there are some that need to be.
Yep.
And then assess them while they're in, not when they're getting out, while they're in, and working with them while they're in.
Yeah.
And not just putting them in a room and locking the door and being done with them. Because we want them to come back out. I can't imagine we want, and there may be some, and that now we're going to go back to mental illness, that you can't just say, okay, here's what we're going to do, and go back out, and then they go back in the same pattern. So we really got to spend money. If we're going to spend money, let's spend money in the jails and mental health. And we have a shortage of all that.
Yeah. I'll give one example. There's one thing I'm advocating with even some of the people you named earlier and stuff. There is no, when you think about Medicaid, so a lot of the people we serve are on state insurance. They're, connected to that. So the services you bill, you can only bill what they give you. And one service they don't have is mental health residential, right? So there's some great programs. Scott and the board and some other folks put together some step-down programs and stuff. But if you go to, let's say you have an episode, and psychiatric episode, and maybe went to jail or went to the psych hospital, when you step down from there, you're just given to outpatient. So in my experience, even working here, and I'm not blaming anybody, but a psych hospital will call us, give us maybe a quarter of the story. They might be stabilized. They might not even know. Just anybody who goes to doctors, they tell you all these meds. You don't know how to take them or what their names are, and they're scary. And then they just come to our doors. So then there's no transition where they could really get stable. But if I smoke weed, which is not as, in my mind, not as serious as other drugs, you can get residential treatment for that for 60 days, but not mental health for adults or kids. So there's a lot of transitioning from the extreme. A kid or adult's going to hurt themselves, hurt others. They have to get stabilized. They're paranoid, whatever. And then it's straight to outpatient. So then it's our job to say, okay, where's your meds? Where's this?
And that's if they show up, right?
And I think it's about, on average, at one time, it was like about 20% make it to just one appointment. So you got 80%. And two, there's no warm handoffs. There's just, you can, here's a piece of paper, show up. And then you got to tell them your whole life story,
Yeah. So we've got to fix that problem. I mean, and there's, what doesn't make sense when I hear that, there's intelligent people that are making decisions.
Yep.
That doesn't, that's not common sense, or that's common sense. That's, do it. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And
it's sad, especially on the Medicaid side. And there's other residential service for more like severe and foster kids, but just the mental health part. When I look at other systems and thinking how we do that, and just the accessibility, is very hard for those individuals, because it sounds simple on paper, make sure they take their meds, but they don't realize that, for example, an individual might have depression or bipolar, but this medication only works for depression. When you see them, they treat it, but actually they needed this medicine for bipolar. There's a lot of testing that has to be done.
And are they getting that testing done while they're in jail?
No.
See, there it is. Yeah.
No, and it's hard. The system in jail, personal experience, like it's hard to see a psych doctor, and then in my experience, the doctor might be intimidated because the guy's face might be tatted, so they just give him whatever med possible. But yeah, there's no true connection. And once you commit a crime, sometimes it's too late, because there's victims involved. They have to be held accountable. But yeah, a lot of the system, it's a struggle to get in there.
Then even when we're talking about they've already done a crime, get them before all that. And these kids, if we're going to work with them, they need a job.
Yep.
They need a job. And there's so many of these neighborhoods that the landlord is from out of town. They can afford, if you're from California, New York, they can afford to buy up a whole block.
Yep.
And then they don't take care of the neighborhood. They don't take care of their homes. What I would do, and a lot of them, what I've learned is under LLC. Yep. So they don't know, like the city, they're going to sue this LLC that doesn't show up. Well, we got to change the law and make sure we have a name and a number that we can contact and go after. What I would love to do is work with these kids and spend, we'll say, $10,000 on lawnmowers. Get these kids to be entrepreneurs. Yep. And go, here's your lawnmower, here's your job, we'll get you going, and you're going to go cut, and give them the list of the homes that been abandoned or whatever, and then go back after those landlords and make them pay for it. Yeah. We'll pay those kids and help them learn how to make money, and they're taking care of the neighborhood. Just little things like that.
Yeah, no, it's a really good idea. They learn, all those tools and business tools, because, as you know, as an entrepreneur, the school systems, in my opinion, doesn't prepare you to be an entrepreneur. The mindsets are completely different. The way you have to, when you get a job, you get paid first and benefits. When you're on the other side, you got to pay everybody first, and if you're lucky, you pay yourself.
Yep.
So, I think there's a small percent. Even here we try to do just basic entrepreneurship classes, but teaching how to structure an LLC, the tax statuses, how to pay people, how to stay compliant with everything, how to do sales, and I think given that you've, just greater opportunities like that, we have some smart kids in this community that could really make a change,
but have no clue how to begin, how to start. I didn't know how. No, and it is hard. I delivered newspapers, and I used to shovel snow and do whatever, to raise a few bucks. Because growing up in a big family, we didn't have that kind of money that you wanted to go and buy something on your own. But to work with them, I was just part of another group that at the University of Toledo that worked with, there was probably 100 kids. It was a women's league group that was running it, and what they did was they gave each kid, they talked with each kid, and they talked to them like, what do you want to do? Okay, you're a lawyer. You make, we'll just say $10,000 a month. We're going to start your bank account here. And then there was probably like about 30 of us in this big room, a grocery store, car salesperson, rent, mortgage. So you had to go to each one of them and learn how to budget your money for the month. And these are all high school kids. And they had people that would walk around and all of a sudden find a kid and slap your dishwasher or your washing machine just broke. There's a $500 coming off where you didn't expect that. Wow. Like real stuff. Yeah. And then I was at the grocery store, and they had to buy and look at, I had all the prices up there and everything, and budget their money. And then they had to write a check. The majority of them, none of them knew how to write a check. Yeah. And I was showing them, we were showing, And so we got to do things like that and show that, a lot of them most all of them live at home. Some were college kids, but they didn't have a clue on, wait, what? You're taking $500 from me? Well, yeah, that broke down. You have to repair it.
Yeah.
And you don't realize what your parents do. And so working with them, that was really, really nice.
Yeah. No, I love it. I'm thinking now of putting together like a free platform where they can get access to this basic education, you know? Because I think sometimes the media will frame business owners as evil, bad people, like, and that on paper, yeah, they made $1 million. It's like, yeah, but they had $950,000 in expenses.
That's exactly right. And in the restaurant business,
yeah, I can't imagine.
It's really about 3 or 4% is
wow.
Yeah. And so you really have to be careful and watch your money and watch every, labor and food costs, so many things. So to teach these kids, the basic skills is really important, but a job is really, so we're not throwing them over there and they're like, oh, I got my new family, here's my new job, selling drugs.
Yep.
Or robbing, that kind of stuff. We got to get them before where they have a job and go from there.
Yeah. No, I agree, because I think, there's nothing, it's not like we have a magic wand or policy we can put in place to put all dads back in homes or stable parents. Like it's already done, you know? But to build the fabric of America again, we got to come together as leaders, and they got to see people care. Like that event we did, and they seen all these strangers come and help them out. That doesn't happen in the communities and stuff as well. So, no, I'm really excited about initiatives like that to boost and believe in our youth. I guess take me through the problem. What does city council exactly do in our city? Like, do they vote on laws? They make policies? What?
So normally they'll legislate and allocate. So the mayor will send down stuff that he wants, and we have to, at city council, will discuss it and then vote on it. Do you agree with that or not? And if you do, then we appropriate the amount of money that needs to go that way. What I am saying, especially with the city being in a big deficit, people are moving out of Toledo. The population is going down. In the city, the only way they get money is tax money. Yep. That's how the city operates. And majority of the money goes to police and fire and a few things like that. Well, if we have to cut, if that's what we're going to do, we're going to go in there and just start cutting. Well, we're going to have to cut safety. We're going to have to cut things that, because right now the city got a lot of money from the federal government, from the PPP money from COVID. Well, that money, they just borrow from that. That money is going to be gone in a year or so. And now what do we do? And I think city council needs to do is say, okay, how are we going to get population to move back to Toledo? Downtown is the fastest growing neighborhood. Why? Yeah. Because it's safe and clean. And it really is. I live downtown. I can walk around if I want at 1 a.m. and I feel safe. Yeah. Could you say that about every neighborhood? No. So city council needs to get in, make sure, how do we get people to move back to Toledo? A clean and safe neighborhood is one. And then bringing in new business, working with Columbus. Columbus, you hear all the time, they talk about Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus, 3 C's they call it, and not Toledo. Why?
Yeah.
We have a great affordable city. We have great workers. It's a great union town that built a great city. We have so many great things. We have parks and zoo. We have so many great things. So why can't we? Because there's businesses moving out of New York and California because the taxes are high and a lot of reasons.
Yep.
Let's bring them to Toledo.
Yeah.
Let's show them Toledo and show what we have. We have great restaurants. We have we have a lot of great things. And so city council needs to, not just approve everything and spend the money, but how do we grow? And that way our revenue goes back up, and then we don't have to keep cutting.
Yeah.
And we can do things that we've talked about with the youth and that, because if there's no money, who's going to pay for that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think your insights of running a business, sometimes, I don't know, but I imagine if I go into politics or anything and I'm making these financial decisions, like the money's going to come. Where when you're running a business, if payroll's Thursday and there's no money, you're done. Your doors are shut.
Politics isn't a whole lot different. I mean, running a city, you can, if you go into a bad time, maybe you have to borrow money. Just like a business, there's times you're up and down that you might need to borrow some money or do something to make it bigger and better. And the city is no different. But while we have some money still in that rainy day fund, let's use that to clean up the city and make it a city that we all that live here are proud of, and let others outside the city and state and world know that Toledo's open for business. Let's do it.
Now, I got a question. This is a personal question. If we have to collect taxpayers' dollars, but then we say, hey, this business comes in here and they pay no taxes or something, does that still benefit the city, or does it, make a difference from the payroll tax of each employee?
And that's the thing is, if you're going to give them a tax break, you're going to get the payroll tax, you're going to get other taxes as well. And I would say, all right, we can do that over a certain period of time, but not forever. We'll give you the opportunity and showcase what we have to offer with a great incentive like no taxes, not maybe for the business side, or cut their taxes, but only for a short period of time. But we're going to get those people, we're going to get jobs, and those workers are going to spend money at the grocery store, at the restaurants, at, the walleye game, wherever, so it is important. And I know there's some people that are against that, but it's a economic development tool to help bring new business to Toledo. But then the businesses that are here are like, what about me? I've been here paying tax. So it's a slippery thing to say. I don't know. But I do believe in showcasing, and if they're going to create some good jobs, give them a reason to come to Toledo. That could be it.
No, it makes sense. I think a lot of times people don't understand. They'll see that, but they don't see payroll tax. And as a business owner, you got your own personal taxes after that. You got payroll, which, your payroll is $100,000. Then they add another 13% on top of that every paycheck. And then, every time an employee pays a tax, you match that every check. A lot of people don't see those. Or we could go on, and then there's.
But then they're spending money. Then they're spending money in the city and in the surrounding area. So we're losing a lot of jobs to, and I know it's a big area, not just Toledo, but I'm running for Toledo City Council. But they're moving to Rossford or Maumee and Perrysburg, which are all great cities, mind you. And some say, like I've talked to people like, why are you moving? And they're like, schools. Safety, and I'm a Toledo public school alum, and I did okay. It's not, we got to work with TPS. That's and figure out that or the Toledo school system, and go from there. And we have some good schools. I'm not going to say this is a failing school district. I love Toledo public schools. I always have and I always will. I heard about, do you support vouchers, and I used to, and I believe that because I thought that why can't this kid that lives in a failing school district be able to go to, because their parents don't have the money to send them to a better school. But then I just recently found out that you don't have to be, a parent can apply for that voucher even if they're making $250,000, they can get that money to send their kid over to St. John's or wherever. That whole thing needs to be, but that's a state issue. That's not the city of Toledo. So that does hurt the Toledo Public Schools when we do that, when we're just giving vouchers. Because again, I think it's only fair that if you have a kid that wants to do better and wants to go to, we'll say St. Ursula or wherever, why can't they go? Because they might have Toledo School of the Arts downtown.
Yep.
Why can't they go there when just because the dad or mom both don't have the money to send them? So we got to figure that out too.
Yeah, I was just learning that, recently, and I was thinking that's kind of a crazy, kid might be punished just for where they're born and the access, and then especially, Toledo has so many, we put so much pressure on teachers to change everything, but, they might have 25. It starts at home.
It really does. I'd come home and my mom, who really didn't speak great English, she's like, show me your homework. Show me your homework. I knew she didn't know what she was looking at, but she might. And but it starts at home of the parents working. And what's sometimes sad is, mom's working 2 jobs and dad's not even around, or grandma's watching them. And so, we need after school people to go in and work with these kids as well. Yeah. That they may not have, but kids want to do well. Yep. At an early age, they want their parent or whoever to say good job. And so if we need to get mentors into the schools or wherever, then we need to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Ed, I appreciate you so much, and look up to your whole career and everything you've done. I know we got city council maybe coming next. Do you have any other dreams or anything else you're pursuing?
No.
Okay.
Right now, I'm good with, if I get elected Tuesday, November 4th, I'll be thrilled to continue doing what we just talked about. And I appreciate what you're doing and your whole group. This is, I heard a lot from Judge Corey, and so I was excited when she introduced me to you, and I was able to get on this program.
Thank you so much. Where can people follow you at, or get closer to you?
Before the election, edfortoledo.com is my website. You can go to that, and if you want to help on Tuesday at the polling station, or just get out and tell your friends to vote. That's the thing, people are like, because there's no big issue. Yeah, we're electing a mayor, city council people. Lucas County Children's Services is important to me too. They're on the ballot, but they don't expect a big turnout. But anyone that's listening and any of your friends, please tell them Ed Beczynski.
All right. Thank you so much. Look forward to your work in the future.
All right. Thanks.